Whoa, here I am in the Rick and Morty universe. This is gonna be fucking sweet. Wait a minute. Oh. What's up guys, Sonny here, back with another video, and today I'm gonna be talking about Dan Harmon. He's a co-creator of Rick and Morty and the creator of Community. I wanna talk about not just his accolades, but the little known side of him that maybe the internet wants to forget about. But before I delve into that, I want you to subscribe. We've been having absolutely phenomenal growth here on the channel lately, going from 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. So I wanna get up to 5,000 before the end of the month. So if you wanna help me with that goal, subscribe to the channel, leave a like down below, and comment what you wanna see next on the channel. But for now, let's get into Dan Harmon. As I said before, Dan Harmon is the creator of Community, and he co-created Rick and Morty. I don't know if you've noticed, but lately in season 6 of Rick and Morty, there's been a lot of incest to the point where there's a lot of memes and news outlets talking about it. And I think we all know this is most likely Dan Harmon's doing. Just look at how much shit he's done to the show recently. In just this most recent season, which is only 5 episodes deep, there's been 2 plot lines delving into incest and self-fucking. I mean, come on. One is like, oh, that's kind of weird, but whatever. But 2 in the same season, this is just a recurring pattern. And not just that, we can go into the previous season and talk about the episode where Summer and Morty have an incest baby. This is a recurring pattern that's been happening in Rick and Morty in the last 2 seasons. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Why is it that there's an episode where Summer and Morty have a baby, Beth and Space Beth fuck each other, and Jerry has to fuck his mom as a part of some sort of fortune cookie conspiracy theory? Why are there 3 plot lines having to do with incest in this show? There's no need. It's just, and it's clear that it's Dan Harmon doing this because every time there's been a weird ass plot line, it's always been Dan Harmon. He's always behind the scenes. And if you didn't know this, Rick and Morty's writing is the writer's room. So everyone contributes to the idea. So there's not just any one writer for a specific episode unless they outright say it. But usually it's people giving their ideas and spewing them back and forth in the room to bounce off to each other. If you notice in the behind the scenes sections after each episode, it's usually only Dan Harmon and one other specific writer talking about the episodes as they air. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I want to give another example because just in case you don't believe me that Dan Harmon's always behind the weird shit in Rick and Morty, let's go back to season 3. You remember the divorce arc? Remember Pickle Rick? Everyone remembers Pickle Rick, but the other side of the episode that's always forgotten is the therapy section in the divorce arc that happened in that season. You wanna know what else was happening during season 3's airing? Dan Harmon's real life divorce. That's right, Dan Harmon is such a fucking retard that he included his own real life divorce in the show. So if he has the gall to include his real life divorce in a show about fucking a scientific retard going across the galaxy, but don't you think it's a little bit more plausible that he would do the same with incest? Now, I'm not saying he's fucking his family members, but I mean, he might at this point. So we have evidence that Dan Harmon has done these weird things in the past, and there is a verifiable pattern of incest in the latest seasons. But that's just scratching the surface. Dan Harmon himself is a very weird and perverse man. If you want more evidence that Dan Harmon is such a scumbag, then look no further than Community, the show that he created himself and was the showrunner for. Back in the Community days, he had a writer that he was so infatuated with, he broke up with his girlfriend and continued to pursue her even after she said no. This writer was pursued and tormented by Dan Harmon for over a year. And he held a position of power over her where he wrote her checks. It was the reason why she was still on the show. The absolute disgust that I feel hearing that he talks about this on his podcast, it just speaks for itself.
I broke up with my girlfriend, then I went right full steam into creeping on my employee. Now it was even less appropriate after all. I got overt about my feelings after it was wrapped and said, oh, I love you. And she said the same thing she'd been saying the entire time. Please, don't you understand that focusing on me like this, liking me like this, preferring me like this, I can't say no to it. And when you do it, it makes me unable to know whether I'm good at my job.
I read an article about that situation after I watched Dan's admission, which is on YouTube, by the way. And ganz goes on to say that the reason why he even did that apology is because she emailed him saying all the fucked up shit that he did to her. And then he said, you know what, I'll come out with this, as if to make some sort of amends. I will add that she did accept his apology, but the fact that he even says it himself, that he has internalized sexism.
On a fundamental level, I was thinking about them as different creatures. I was thinking about the ones that I liked as having some special role in my life.
This shows how fucked up this guy is. And for him to go from ruining Community to now going and ruining Rick and Morty just shows a lot about his character. And I do mean he is ruining Rick and Morty. I think Dan Harmon is the exact reason why Rick and Morty has gone down the drain in these recent years. And you wanna know why I think that? It's because even Justin Roiland, the voice of Rick and Morty himself, isn't even actually attached to writing the show anymore. Justin Roiland has taken a hands-off approach to Rick and Morty, almost like Seth MacFarlane. If you look at any of the behind-the-scenes sections of these latest episodes, you'll find a distinct lack of Justin Roiland. And you wanna know why that is? It's because he doesn't want to be a part of this shit. He's just taking the fucking check for voicing the characters because he's the only one that can do it. Dan Harmon has completely fucked over the writing of Rick and Morty to the point that the co-creator wants no part of that. Do you not think that's a problem? This guy who has verifiably ruined his own show before is doing the same thing. This time he's not creeping on a woman, but instead he's fucking over the entire fan base by putting in these disgusting plot lines about incest and about his own divorce because he has some self-pity. Fuck you, Dan Harmon. Honestly, the incest is not even the worst Dan Harmon's done before. Back in 2009 when he had his comedy sketch show, he did a specific sketch that was so disgusting. You can find it on YouTube, but it is so disgusting. I can't even think to describe it, but I will because I don't want you guys to go looking it up. Dan Harmon makes a sketch where he is narrating as a child predator who sneaks into a person's house, goes up to their baby, takes off his pants and fucks it. He literally takes off his real life pants and acts like he's fucking a doll baby as it cries out as he thrusts into it. This is the same guy who's co-created Rick and Morty. I just find it unfathomably retarded that this man still has the power in this industry to create a show and to be an executive producer and writer on it. I have no respect for a man who has done so much to so many people to fuck them over, from ganz to any writer that may be on Rick and Morty that has to put up with this shit, to the animators who have to animate literal incest. It's just so shocking and appalling to me, genuinely. And it just makes me so upset that a show that had so much potential has been going down the drain because of this one man's sick fucking perverted mind. I really think at this point it's clear that Dan Harmon, intentionally or not, is sabotaging Rick and Morty, and that at this point it may or may not even get a season 7. I mean, when we're 5 episodes deep into a season and there's already 2 episodes dealing with incest, I feel like your show is going down the drain. And with the departure of Justin Roiland as an active writer, I feel like it only goes downhill from here. We've only gotten 1 story episode this entire season, and that was the first one. After that, it's been all Dan Harmon adventures where Beth fucks Beth or Jerry has to fuck his mom. I don't get it. Honestly, I don't see the appeal. I don't see why people still put up with Dan Harmon as a fucking writer on these shows when he clearly sabotages them and gets them canceled. So I'm just gonna say this here. Fuck you, Dan Harmon. Get off fucking Rick and Morty. Let some other writers have it because you don't deserve it. If you wanna hear more about this, my friend Ellis Mark made a video. If you wanna hear about his take on the whole incest and Rick and Morty thing, go over to his video, because I sure will. All right, peace out, subscribe.